The alarm on his ship started beeping at the worst possible time. Was eating his dinner, a sad bowl of instant noodles that had expired 2 months ago. He looked at the flashing red light on his control panel and sighed. The universe never let him eat in peace. He put down his chopsticks and walked to the cockpit. His ship, the Rusty Nail, was old and tired just like him. Well, maybe not old, was only 32, but 12 years of flying cargo through the dangerous parts of space had made him feel much older. The alarm was a distress signal. Someone was in trouble nearby. Check the location. It came from deep inside an asteroid belt, about 2 hours away from his current path. He was supposed to deliver medical supplies to a mining colony. If he took this detour, he would be late. Late deliveries meant less money. Less money meant more expired noodles. He should ignore it. That was the smart thing to do. But had never been very smart. He changed his course and flew toward the signal. The asteroid belt was thick and dangerous. Rocks the size of buildings floated everywhere. Had to fly carefully, weaving between them like a fish swimming through a coral reef. His old ship groaned and complained, but it held together. It always did. After an hour of difficult flying, he found the source of the signal. It was a ship, or what remained of one. The vessel had been beautiful once, could tell by the curves of its design and the expensive metal of its hull, but now it was broken into 3 large pieces, floating among the asteroids like a dead whale in the ocean. Burn marks covered its surface. This was not an accident. Someone had attacked this ship with powerful weapons. Felt his stomach tighten. Whoever did this might still be nearby. He scanned the area with his sensors. There were 3 other ships about 20 minutes away, moving slowly through the asteroid field. They were searching for something, or someone. Pirates, it had to be pirates. Should have turned around right then. This was not his problem. But then his scanner picked up something else, a life sign, faint but real. Someone had survived the attack. He cursed quietly and flew closer to the wreckage. The life signs came from an emergency pod attached to the largest piece of the destroyed ship, maneuvered his vessel alongside it and extended his docking tube. The connection was rough, but it held. He grabbed his flashlight and his pistol, a small weapon that probably would not help much if things went bad, and climbed through the tube into the wreckage. The inside of the destroyed ship was dark and cold. Emergency lights flickered red, giving everything a bloody color, stepped over broken metal and shattered glass. He saw bodies on the floor, guards by the look of their armor. They had died fighting. He found the emergency pod at the end of a corridor. Its door was sealed shut. He knocked on it gently. "Hello, anyone in there?" Silence, then a small sound, a whimper. "I'm not going to hurt you," said. His voice was rough from years of smoking cheap cigarettes, but he tried to make it soft. "I'm here to help. Can you open the door?" More silence, then slowly the door hissed open. 2 children stared at him from inside the pod. They were not human. Their skin was pale blue, almost silver in the dim light. Their eyes were large and dark, like pools of black water. Small ridges ran along their foreheads and their ears were pointed slightly. They looked young, one maybe 6 years old, the other perhaps 4. The older one stood in front of the younger one, protecting them. His small hands were raised, ready to fight even though he was clearly terrified. It was the bravest thing had ever seen. "It's okay," said. He put his pistol away and held up his empty hands. "See, I'm not going to hurt you. I heard your distress signal. I came to help." The older child spoke. His voice was shaky but proud. "You are human." "That's right, my name is what's yours." The child hesitated. The younger one, a girl, realized, peeked out from behind her brother. She was crying silently, tears running down her blue cheeks. "I am," the boy finally said. "This is my sister, our ship. Bad people attacked us. Everyone is." He could not finish the sentence. His brave face started to crack. His heart broke. He had seen a lot of terrible things in his life, but nothing hit harder than a child trying not to cry. He knelt down to their level. "Listen to me, you did good. You kept your sister safe, that's what matters. Now let me keep both of you safe, okay? Can you walk?" Nodded, held her brother's hand tightly. "Good, we need to move fast. There are bad people looking for you and my ship is small enough to hide. Stay close to me and stay quiet. Can you do that?" Both children nodded. Led them through the destroyed ship back to the docking tube. He helped them climb through carefully. Was limping, she had hurt her leg somehow. Picked her up and carried her the rest of the way. She was light, lighter than a human child her size would be. She wrapped her thin arms around his neck and held on tight. Once they were all inside the rusty nail, sealed the docking tube and disconnected from the wreckage. He moved fast now. Those pirate ships were getting closer. "Sit here," he told the children, pointing to the small couch in the living area. "Buckle up, it might get bumpy." He ran to the cockpit and started flying. The asteroid belt was his friend now. The rocks would hide his small ship from the pirate sensors. He just had to be smart about his path. A voice crackled over his radio. "Unidentified vessel, this is the Black Fang. State your business in this area." His hands tightened on the controls. He pressed the reply button and made his voice sound bored and annoyed. "This is the cargo ship Rusty Nail. I'm just a scavenger looking for scraps. Found some nice wreckage back there. Not much worth taking, though. You guys blow it up." A pause, then, "Did you find any survivors?" Forced a laugh. "Survivors in that mess, everything was cooked. I did find some nice circuit boards, though. You want them, I'll sell cheap." Another pause, held his breath. "Move along, scavenger. This area is restricted now." Sure, I'm going. Don't shoot me, okay? This old ship can barely hold together as it is." He turned off the radio and flew away slowly, casually, like a man with nothing to hide and nowhere important to be. Inside, his heart was pounding so hard he thought it might explode. The pirate ships did not follow him. Only when he was out of the asteroid belt and safely in open space did let himself breathe. He leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes for a moment. Then he heard soft footsteps behind him. Stood at the cockpit door, still holding his sister's hand. "Are we safe now?" he asked. Looked at them, two scared alien kids who had lost everything and everyone they knew. And now they were putting their trust in a stranger, a human they had never met, because they had no other choice. "Yeah," he said, "you're safe now." He meant it. The next 3 days were the strangest of his life. He learned quickly that taking care of children was harder than flying through an asteroid field, and needed food, but they could not eat most of what had on his ship. He had to search through his emergency supplies to find things that would not make them sick. They ended up eating mostly plain rice and some dried fruit that had forgotten he owned. They needed sleep, but they had nightmares. Every few hours would hear crying from the small room where he had set up beds for them. He would go in and sit with them, speaking softly until they calmed down. He did not know any lullabies, so he told them stories about Earth, about mountains and oceans and animals they had never heard of. Especially loved hearing about dogs. "They are like wolves," explained, "but friendly. They love humans and want to play all the time." "Can I meet a dog one day?" asked, her dark eyes wide. "Maybe," said, "when you get home." Home, that was the big question. Where was their home? On the second day, finally told him. They were sitting together eating breakfast when the boy accidentally touched a small device on his wrist. A hologram appeared in the air above his arm, a complex symbol made of silver light. It showed a crown wrapped in stars, with 3 moons circling around it. His face went pale. He quickly turned off the hologram, but it was too late, had seen it. "That's a royal seal," said slowly. He recognized it from news broadcasts he had seen years ago. "That's the symbol of the Empire." Looked down at the table. His small hands were shaking. said carefully, "Who are you, really?" The boy was quiet for a long moment. Then he lifted his head and looked in the eyes. Despite his fear, there was dignity in his gaze, pride even. "I am first son of Queen, ruler of the Empire. This is my sister, Princess. We are the heirs to the throne." Stared at him. Then he put his head in his hands and laughed, a tired, disbelieving laugh. "Of course you are," he said. "Of course I rescued the royal children of one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. Why would the universe make my life easy?" Looked confused. "You are not happy to know this." Happy lifted his head. "Kid, do you know what happens to humans who get involved in alien royal politics? Nothing good at all." But he looked at its worried face and frightened eyes, and he felt his frustration fade away. They were just children. None of this was their fault. "But don't worry about it," he added, forcing a smile. "Let's just get you home to your mother." Getting to space took another full day of flying. Had to use routes he did not normally use, going the long way to avoid any more pirates or trouble. The children stayed close to him the whole time, sat on his lap while he flew, watching the stars through the window, sat in the co-pilot chair, asking questions about how the ship worked. When they finally reached the border of territory, sent a message identifying himself and explaining that he had the royal children on board. The response came within minutes. "Human vessel, you will hold your position. Do not move. An escort will arrive shortly." Waited. He expected maybe 1 or 2 ships to come check on them. Instead, an entire armada appeared. 30 warships, each one bigger than anything had ever seen, dropped out of faster-than-light travel and surrounded his little cargo ship. They were beautiful and terrifying, sleek silver vessels covered in glowing patterns, with weapons that could probably destroy a small moon. Swallowed hard. "Okay, that's a lot of ships." The voice came over his radio again. "Human vessel, you will follow us to the throne world. Any deviation from the path will result in immediate destruction. Is that understood?" "Very clearly understood," said, "Following you now." The journey to the throne world took several hours. Flew in the center of the armada, surrounded by warships on every side. He felt like a criminal being escorted to prison. The children, however, seemed excited. They recognized the ships and knew they were almost home. The throne world was called. When it came into view, forgot how to breathe for a moment. It was the most beautiful planet he had ever seen. Its surface was covered in silver and blue great oceans, reflecting the light of 3 moons that circled around it. Cities made of crystal and light glittered across its continents. Everything looked clean and perfect and impossible. They landed at the main palace, a massive structure that rose from the ground like a flower made of glass. The docking bay alone was bigger than most space stations had visited. When he opened the door of his ship, guards were waiting outside. They wore armor that matched the royal seal, silver with star patterns. Their faces were hard and suspicious as they looked at. But then a voice called out, and everything changed. A woman came running through the line of guards. She was tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered like moonlight and eyes that glowed silver. She wore a long dress that flowed behind her like water. A thin crown sat on her head, but she seemed to have forgotten about it. In that moment, she was not a queen. She was just a mother. And ran to her. The queen fell to her knees and caught them in her arms. She held them so tightly as if afraid they would disappear. Tears ran down her face, silver like her eyes. She was saying something in her own language. Words could not understand, but he understood the meaning. Relief, joy, love. Stood by his ship and watched. He felt out of place, like a dirty smudge on a clean painting. His clothes were old and wrinkled. His ship looked like garbage next to the beautiful palace. He wondered if he should just leave quietly. But then the queen looked up at him. She stood slowly, keeping her children close. She wiped her tears and walked toward him. Up close, she was even more striking. Her beauty was not just physical. There was something about her presence, a weight, a power that made one to look away. But he held her gaze. "You are the one who saved them," she said. Her voice was soft but strong like music. "Yes, your majesty. I found them in the wreckage and brought them here." She studied him for a long moment. Her silver eyes seemed to look right through him, seeing everything, his thoughts, his fears, his history, felt completely exposed. "Why?" she asked. The question surprised him. "What do you mean?" "You are human, a cargo pilot by the look of your ship. My children are alien to you. Our empire has had no dealings with your kind. There was no reward promised, no benefit to you. So why did you risk your life to save them?" Thought about the question. He thought about all the smart answers he could give, political reasons, moral reasons, philosophical reasons. But in the end, the truth was simpler than any of that. "They were scared," he said. "They were just kids and they were scared and they needed help. Someone had to do something, so I did." The queen stared at him. For a moment her royal mask slipped and saw something raw behind it, surprise, confusion, and something else he could not name. "Stay," she said finally. "Stay here at the palace as my honored guest. I will arrange proper compensation for what you have done, but I would like to thank you properly. Will you stay?" Looked at and who were watching him with hopeful eyes. He looked at his sad little ship, then at the beautiful palace around him. "Sure," he said. "I could use a vacation anyway." He had no idea what he was getting himself into. Days turned into weeks and did not leave. He told himself it was because the food was good. And it was, better than anything he had eaten in years. Every meal was a work of art, with flavors he had never experienced before. After 12 years of expired noodles and protein bars, eating at the palace felt like being reborn. He told himself it was because the room was comfortable. And it was, a beautiful space with soft beds and windows that looked out over gardens filled with silver flowers. After sleeping in the cramped cabin of his cargo ship for so long, having actual space to move around felt like a miracle. But the real reason he stayed was the children. And would not let him go. Every morning they came to his room before he woke up. They knocked on his door with their small hands and called out his name until he opened it. Then they would drag him to breakfast, chattering about their dreams and their plans for the day. They wanted to show him everything. The palace gardens where flowers that sang when the wind touched them grew. The royal library which held books older than human civilization. The kitchen where the cooks let help make desserts. The training hall where was learning to fight with a wooden sword. "You must watch me practice," insisted one afternoon. "I have become much better." Watched the boy swing his sword at a training dummy. His form was good for someone his age, but his footwork was wrong. Without thinking, walked over and corrected his stance. "Keep your weight here," he said, tapping's front foot. "And don't hold the sword so tight. Loose grip gives you faster movement." Tried again. His next swing was much smoother. "How do you know this?" the boy asked, eyes wide. Shrugged. "I was not always a cargo pilot. Another life a long time ago." He did not say more and did not ask, but from then on helped with his training sessions. Queen noticed. She noticed everything, realized. Even when she seemed busy with meetings and royal duties, she was watching. Her silver eyes followed as he played with her children, as he explored her palace, as he slowly became part of her world. One evening, she invited him to walk with her in the gardens. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. 3 moons were already visible, floating above like guardian spirits. The singing flowers filled the air with soft music. "My advisors tell me you have been here for 3 weeks now," said. Felt embarrassed. "I apologize, Your Majesty. I have been taking advantage of your kindness. I should probably leave soon." "That is not what I meant," she smiled slightly. "My children have smiled more in these 3 weeks than they have in the past year. Since their father died, they have been lost, sad, but with you they laugh again, they play again. You have given me a gift I cannot repay with money. Did not know what to say. He looked down at the path they were walking on, feeling uncomfortable with praise. Tell me about your world, said. Tell me about Earth. So he did. He told her about the blue oceans and green forests, about cities full of people rushing everywhere, always busy, always moving, about his home village in the mountains, where his grandmother had raised him after his parents died, about the taste of his grandmother's cooking and the sound of rain on a tin roof. Listened to every word. She asked questions, thoughtful questions that showed she really wanted to understand. What did humans believe in? What did they fear? What made them happy? We are complicated, admitted. We fight each other over small things, we destroy and then rebuild. We make the same mistakes over and over, but we also create beautiful things. Music, art, stories. We love deeply and hurt deeply. We are messy. Messy, repeated as if testing the word. I think I like that. They are very ordered. Everything has rules, traditions, proper ways. Sometimes I feel like I am trapped in a cage made of expectations. Being a queen must be hard. Yes, she was quiet for a moment. My husband was supposed to lead beside me. He understood the burden. He helped me carry it. When he died, her voice became soft. I have been carrying it alone. It is heavy. Felt his heart ache for her. Behind all the royal power and beauty, she was just a woman who had lost her partner, a mother trying to protect her children, a person carrying more weight than anyone should carry alone. You have your children, he said, and you have an empire that respects you. That is not nothing. No, she agreed. It is not nothing, but sometimes I wish I had someone to talk to, someone who sees me as more than a crown. She looked at him when she said it and felt something shift between them, something delicate and new. Over the following days, their evening walks became a regular thing. They talked about everything, their pasts, their dreams, their fears. Told him about her late husband, a kind and gentle man who had died from an illness that even their advanced medicine could not cure. Told her about his years as a soldier before he became a cargo pilot, about the things he had seen that still haunted him. They were very different people from very different worlds, but somehow they understood each other. My advisors are talking about you, said one night. Sighed, I figured they would. A human living in the royal palace must be strange for them. They wonder why I keep you here. They make assumptions. What kind of assumptions? Did not answer directly. Instead, she asked, do you know what a life debt is in culture? I do not. When someone saves the life of a royal family member, especially a child, they create what we call a life debt. It is the most sacred bond in our society. It cannot be ignored or dismissed. She paused. You saved both of my children. In our tradition, there are only two ways such a debt can be repaid. Felt suddenly nervous. What ways? The first is eternal servitude. The Savior becomes a servant of the royal house forever. That does not sound very fair. It is not meant for someone like you. The second way, hesitated. For the first time since had met her, she seemed uncertain. The second way is union, marriage. Stopped walking, he stared at her. Marriage, he repeated, sure he had heard wrong. Yes, it is an ancient tradition. By joining families, the debt becomes shared and is considered repaid. She looked away, her silver cheeks darkening with what might have been a blush. I am not suggesting. I am not demanding. I just wanted you to understand what my advisors are thinking, what they expect. His head was spinning, marriage to a queen to her. I need to think, he said. Of course. His voice was calm, but there was something vulnerable in her eyes. There is no pressure. I will not force you into anything. Whatever you decide, I will respect it. She walked away, leaving him alone in the garden with only the singing flowers for company. Sat on a bench and looked up at the 3 moons. His life had been simple before. Difficult, but simple. Now everything was complicated in ways he had never imagined. But when he thought about leaving, about going back to his empty ship and his lonely roots, he felt a strange pain in his chest. When had this place started to feel like home? Did not sleep that night. He lay in his beautiful bed in his beautiful room and stared at the ceiling until the first sun rose. His mind would not stop racing. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, her silver eyes, her soft smile, the way she looked when she talked about her loneliness. Marriage, the word bounced around his head like a ball he could not catch. He was nobody, a cargo pilot with a rusted ship and barely enough credits to eat. His clothes were old. His education was basic. He had nothing to offer a queen except his rough hands and his stubborn heart. And yet, when he burst into his room that morning, demanding he join them for breakfast, felt something warm spread through his chest. When he sat at the table and smiled at him from across the room, his heart beat faster. When she laughed at something said, he found himself laughing too. This was not supposed to happen. He was not supposed to feel this way. After breakfast, he went to his ship. He had not visited it in over a week. The rusty nail sat in the corner of the royal docking bay, looking even sadder next to all the shiny vessels. But it was his. It was freedom. It was an escape route if things became too strange. He sat in the pilot chair and ran his hands over the controls. How many years had he spent here? How many light years had he traveled in this seat? This ship knew him better than any person ever had. "You are thinking about leaving." Turned, stood at the entrance of the cockpit, his small arms crossed over his chest. "Maybe," said honestly. "I do not really belong here, I am just a human." "That is stupid," said. For a royal prince, he had learned some very direct language. "Excuse me. You belong here because we want you here." Me and Mother walked closer, his dark eyes serious. "Before you came, Mother was always sad. She tried to hide it, but we could tell. Now she smiles. Real smiles, not the fake ones she does for the advisors." Felt his throat tighten. "Your mother is just being kind to me because I helped you." "No, she talks about you all the time. She asks us what you said, what games you played with us, what stories you told. She likes you, and I think you like her too," tilted his head. "Am I wrong?" Wanted to deny it. He opened his mouth to say something dismissive, something safe. But looking at this brave little boy who had protected his sister in the worst moment of his life, could not lie. "No," he said quietly, "you are not wrong." Smiled a real smile full of hope. "Then do not leave, please." That evening, a servant came to his room with a formal message. The Queen requested his presence in the royal chamber. He was asked to dress in formal clothes, which had been prepared for him. Looked at the clothes laid out on his bed. They were simple but elegant dark fabric with silver patterns at the edges. Not too fancy, but proper. He put them on and looked at himself in the mirror. He barely recognized the man looking back at him. He looked almost respectable. The royal chamber was the largest room had ever entered. Its ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadow. Great pillars of crystal held it up, glowing with soft inner light. At the far end, there was a raised platform with 2 thrones. Only one was occupied. Sat there waiting for him, but she was not alone. Around the chamber, dozens of nobles stood watching. They were all dressed in rich clothes and wearing expressions that ranged from curious to hostile. This was not a private meeting. This was a public event. Walked forward, feeling every eye on him. His boots echoed on the stone floor. He kept his back straight and his head high, the way his grandmother had taught him long ago. "Show no fear," she used to say. "Never let them see you sweat." He stopped at the base of the platform and bowed. It felt right to bow. "Rise of Earth." His voice was formal, royal. This was not the woman who had walked with him in the gardens. This was the Queen. "You stand before the court of the Empire. Do you know why you have been summoned?" "I believe I do, Your Majesty." "Then let me speak plainly for all to hear." Stood. She was wearing ceremonial robes, silver and white, with a crown of woven light on her head. She looked like something from a dream. 3 weeks ago, this man, this human, saved my children from certain death. He found them in the wreckage of their ship, surrounded by enemies. He risked his life to protect them. He carried them to safety and cared for them with kindness and patience. He asked for nothing in return. Murmurs went through the crowd, kept his eyes on. By our ancient laws, a life debt has been created, the greatest debt our culture knows, and according to those same laws, there are only two paths to repay it. Took a breath. I have chosen the second path. The murmurs became louder. Some of the nobles looked shocked, others looked angry. Ignored them all. She walked down from her platform, step by step, until she stood directly in front of, close enough that he could see the slight tremble in her hands, close enough to see that behind her royal mask, she was terrified. She said, her voice softer now, meant only for him, I am not asking this because of tradition. I am not asking this because of duty. I am asking because in these few weeks you have become more important to me than I ever expected. You make my children happy. You make me laugh. You see me, not the crown, not the power, just me. She took his hands in hers. Her touch was cool and gentle. I am asking you to marry me, not as repayment for a debt but as a choice, my choice, and I hope your choice too. The chamber was completely silent. Everyone was waiting for his answer. Looked at this incredible woman, this queen who ruled an empire, this mother who loved her children, this person who, despite having everything, was lonely enough to reach out to a stranger from another world. He thought about his ship, his freedom, his old life of empty space and expired food and talking to no one for weeks at a time. Then he thought about morning breakfasts with and evening walks in the garden, silver eyes that looked at him like he mattered. Your Majesty, he said, I need you to understand something. I have nothing. No wealth, no status, no power. I am just a man who happened to be in the right place at the right time. If you marry me, your advisors will hate you. Your nobles will question your judgment. Your enemies will use it against you. I know, said. I might fail you. I might not be strong enough for this world. I know. I snore when I sleep. I am terrible at dancing. I have bad habits I have not told you about yet. Laughed, a real laugh, surprised out of her by his honesty. Some of the tension in the room cracked. She said, do you want to marry me or not? He looked into her eyes. He found his answer there. Yes, he said, I do. The chamber erupted. Some nobles cheered. Others shouted in protest, but was not listening to any of them. She was looking at, and for the first time since he had met her, she looked truly happy. She leaned forward and kissed his forehead, a traditional gesture of acceptance. Thank you, she whispered. Do not thank me yet, replied. You have no idea what you are getting into. She smiled, neither do you. They were probably both right. The announcement spread across the empire like fire. Within hours, everyone knew. The queen was going to marry a human, a nobody, a cargo pilot from a species that most had never even met. It was scandal. It was madness. It was the most interesting thing to happen in decades. Learned very quickly that not everyone was happy about it. He was walking through the palace corridors the morning after the proposal when he noticed people staring at him, not with curiosity like before, but with something harder. Some of them whispered when he passed. Others turned away completely, refusing to look at him. They will need time, told him when he mentioned it. Change is difficult for our people. We have traditions going back thousands of years. A marriage like this has never happened before. Great, so I am breaking history. Making history, she corrected. There is a difference. But the whispers were only the beginning. 3 days after the announcement, a formal challenge was issued. A noble named Lord demanded a tribunal, a special court that could review royal decisions in extreme circumstances. He claimed that the marriage violated ancient laws about bloodline purity. He claimed that a human could never be worthy of joining the royal family. Had never met Lord, but he recognized the type. Every world had men like him, powerful, ambitious, hungry for more. The kind of man who smiled at your face while planning to stab your back. Who was he? Asked. They were in her private study, surrounded by books and star maps. His face was tight with worry. Lord controls the mining operations on 3 of our outer moons. He is very wealthy and has many allies in the court. He also, she hesitated. He asked for my hand in marriage 6 months ago. I refused. Ah, so this is personal. Very personal. He believes he should be king. He believes our empire needs strong leadership, not a grieving widow and her human outsider. Felt a cold anger building in his chest. What happens if the tribunal rules in his favor? The marriage cannot proceed, and I will be weakened politically. Other nobles will see me as vulnerable. They might make their own moves against the throne. She closed her eyes. I should not have been so public about the proposal. I acted with my heart instead of my head. I have put you and my children at risk. Stood up and walked to her. He took her hands the way she had taken his just days ago. Listen to me. I did not survive 12 years in the outer rim by being afraid of men like, we will face this tribunal, we will win, and then we will have a wedding. Looked at him, some of the worry left her face. You sound very confident. I am very stubborn, it is a human trait. She almost smiled, so I am learning. The next few days were tense. Stayed close to and the children, watching for signs of trouble. He did not like the way some of the palace guards looked at him. He did not like the way certain servants disappeared when he tried to talk to them. Something was wrong, he could feel it. On the 4th night, his instincts proved right. He was sleeping in his room when a noise woke him. A soft click, the sound of his door being opened from outside. He lay still, keeping his breathing even, his hands slowly moving under his pillow where he kept a small knife. 2 figures entered the room. They moved quietly, professionally. One went to the window to block any escape. The other approached the bed. Waited until the man was close enough. Then he moved. Years of training came back in an instant. He rolled off the bed, grabbed the attacker's arm, and threw him to the ground. The knife came out and pressed against the man's throat. Who sent you? Demanded. The second attacker came at him from behind, heard the footsteps and ducked. A blade cut through the air where his head had been. He kicked backward, hitting the attacker's knee. The man fell with a cry of pain. Suddenly the door burst open again. Light flooded the room. More guards rushed in, but these wore the royal seal. And behind them came. She stood in the doorway, her silver eyes blazing with fury that made her glow like a star. She was wearing only a sleeping robe, but she looked more dangerous than anyone had ever seen. What is the meaning of this? Her voice was ice. One of the royal guards grabbed the fallen attacker and pulled off his mask. Recognized the uniform underneath. It belonged to Lord's personal forces. Assassins said, "Men." His expression became something terrible. Take them to the cells. I want them questioned before sunrise, and summon Lord to the throne room, now. The guards obeyed instantly. No one argued with that voice. When they were alone, came too. Her hands touched his face, his arms checking for injuries. I am fine, he assured her. They were not very good. They could have killed you. But they did not. He took her hands and held them. I told you I was stubborn. Was trembling, not with fear, he realized, but with rage. This cannot go unanswered. If sent assassins into my palace, into your room, he is not just opposing our marriage. He is committing treason. By dawn, the truth began to emerge. The captured assassins talked, eventually. They revealed more than just the night's attack. They spoke of plans that went back months, plans that involved pirate ships and a certain royal transport that had been attacked in an asteroid field. Lord had arranged the attack on and ship. He had paid the pirates. He had given them the route. He had wanted the royal children dead so that would be weakened enough to force into marriage with him. When that plan failed, when a random human cargo pilot ruined everything, he had become desperate. When heard this, something broke inside her. Not broke like shattered glass, but broke like a dam releasing a flood. All her grief, her fear, her protective mother's fury came pouring out. She called an emergency session of the court. Every noble, every advisor, every important figure in the empire was summoned to the throne room. Lord was brought in under guard, still wearing his fine clothes, still trying to look dignified. Did not sit on her throne. She stood in front of it, facing the assembled court, facing her enemy. "Lord," she said, her voice carrying through the massive chamber, "you are accused of treason against the crown. You are accused of conspiracy to murder my children. You are accused of attempted assassination of my chosen consort. What do you say?" His face was pale, but he tried to bluster. "These accusations are lies, fabrications from a desperate queen trying to silence opposition to her foolish marriage. We have confessions from your own men, we have payment records, we have proof," stepped closer to him. "You tried to kill my children, my bobbies, for power, for a throne you could never earn." For the first time looked afraid. "Your Majesty, I can explain." "There is no explanation, there is no excuse, there is only justice." She turned to the court. "I call for immediate trial. Let the evidence be presented. Let the law decide his fate." No one opposed her, not anymore. Watched from the side of the room, standing with and who had been kept away from the violence but brought to see its resolution, was holding his hand tightly. "Is it over?" the boy asked. Looked at strong, fierce, magnificent, standing before her court and demanding justice for her children. "Almost," he said, "almost.